Transportation and Mobility of Cleveland City Council to order. Please call the roll. Present.
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 Thank you, Madam Clerk. Director, come on up. Okay, so we've got a two-part show today. The first part of today's committee will be hearing two pieces of legislation, followed by the fun part, which our Assistant Law Director, you're welcome to stay for the fun part too, where we will hear an update from the Director about the Airport Terminal Modernization Development Plan program. And we will be hearing from that after the legislation. Are there any opening questions from the committee before we kick off? All right, great. All right, starting with the legislation, Director, let's start with 531-2025, which is by Council Members McCormick and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Port Control to employ one or more professional consultants, computer software developers, or vendors, or one or more firms of consultants, computer software developers, or vendors necessary to provide an airport runway incursion prevention and management system and related services for a period of 1 year with a 1-year option to renew, exercisable by the Director. Director, 531.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. This item will be presented by Assistant Director of Development, Airport Development, Dennis Kramer.
Okay, Assistant Director.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you. So as described, we're proposing to enter into a professional services contract for this prevention management system for vehicle incursion system on the airfield. This is for our fleet of vehicles. This will be, so right now, currently, we have transponders on all of our equipment, and this is a system that we're looking to implement to increase safety even more for our fleet of vehicles. And what this is it's a software. There'll be tablets, different things in any kind of vehicles. This could also include lawn mowers, like our large tractor mowers and things of that nature that operate close to the runways. Obviously, this type of equipment can't go into certain areas, and we want to make sure vehicles stay where they need to stay. So this is another layer of safety that we're looking to add to our vehicles to assure that all of them are staying in the right places. It includes geofencing and things of that nature to make sure that we're tracking all the vehicles out there and keeping the airfield safe.
That's
So
wonderful.
request approval.
Thank you. So to the Assistant Director, this contract is $70,000. And again, just for layman's terms, today when you do a tour of the airport, you've got, folks that will take you around and they have to mind their P's and Q's around the runway. So am I right to say this is an additional layer, as you noted, in addition to that, to keep everybody where they're supposed to be?
That's correct, yes. An additional layer of safety, yes, sir.
All right. What questions do we have about technology to keep vehicles where they're supposed to be at the airport? I think it's good. Do you want to make that official comment, Vice Chair? All right, we think it's good. Okay, with no questions, Ordinance 531-2025 stands approved. Please sign. Okay. Ordinance number 534-2025 by Council Members McCormick and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the purchase by one or more contracts up for friction measuring equipment, including training, software, and installation for the Division of Airports, Department of Port Control. Director, 534.
Yes, so once again, Mr. Chair and members of the committee, this item will be presented by Dennis Kramer, our Assistant Director of Airport Development. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, again, this is another piece that we're looking to purchase some equipment actually here. So we have this friction testing equipment that we currently utilize. The equipment that we're using is coming to the end of its useful life, and it is provided by a company that is the level of service. They're a company that I'll say seems to be on the outs, and the level of service is trending downward, okay, if you will. And so we're looking to bring on a new provider for this type of equipment. And what it exactly does is our operations folks on a regular routine basis for safety checks will go out and check friction on the runway for the actual planes when they're coming in. Mostly this is used during winter operations to test how the friction levels on the runway to assure safety for the aircraft. On occasion, it is used in other periods if there's heavy rain or if there's a lot of rubber out there that we want to make sure that there's no slick spots for the aircraft. So looking to purchase some new equipment to continue this regular routine type of operation that we do out in the airfield. Thank you.
Great. All righty, so Assistant Director, we've got an estimated sum of $64,000 to ensure that, am I accurate to say that planes land safely at the airport, ensuring the friction of the runways are proper? In a
Yes,
nutshell?
Mr. Chairman.
What questions do I have about equipment to ensure that planes land safely at the airport? Councilman Bishop.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this piece of equipment is a one-time cost of $64,000. What's the useful life of this piece of equipment? Do you have an estimated time?
So the equipment that we currently have, that we currently use for this, is approximately 10 years old. So I would imagine this has a similar useful life, so approximately 10 years old.
Okay, and there's no associated ongoing cost with this?
No, this is a one-time purchase.
Now, what about training for the staff or the employees to use this equipment? No training is involved?
There is some training involved, and it's included in the pricing that you see.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman. Any additional questions on 534-2025? Is this good, Councilman Slife? It's good. All right, we got the sign off from our vice chair. Hearing no other questions, 534-2025 stands approved. Please sign. Thank you. All right, that will conclude our legislative portion of our committee today. We are excited now to hear more about the TMDP here in Cleveland. As many of you may or may not be aware, last week, the director and his team, as well as the mayor and members of council, were present to announce really exciting updates to Cleveland's airport pertaining to the head house, as well as some other really exciting enhancements that will kick off in earnest the TMDP here in Cleveland. And we wanted to make sure that the director had the opportunity to brief this committee of council on the details on that plan, as well as to open up any questions from the committee members on that as well. So with that said, Director, take it away.
Yes, so we are very appreciative of having this opportunity to provide an update to the Transportation and Mobility Committee surrounding the significant progress made to date on the upcoming transformation of the guest experience at Cleveland Hopkins. I'm incredibly excited and energized by the work that we've completed thus far, and even more so for what is yet to come. So as city residents and airport users, you're aware of the experience that is currently in place at Cleveland Hopkins and some of the shortcomings that we have in what we're offering our guests today. Our head house encompasses ticketing, TSA screening, and baggage claim functions. It is inadequate in size and layout and its ability to accommodate the level of passenger activity that we're now experiencing on a regular basis. So simply put, we have outgrown that building. Our parking demand often exceeds capacity. We're missing important revenue as a result. Parking is the #1 revenue generator at our airport and at most commercial airports. Our roadways and terminal curbside present tremendous challenges for the numerous vehicles and the various landside functions that we see on a day-to-day basis. So it's going to be a few years before we realize many of these improvements, but as you all heard last week, we're finally coming, as we'll say, out of the gate. While we will continue to make improvements to the existing terminal campus, such as ongoing restroom renovations, as well as the upcoming project to expand the number of lanes at the central checkpoint for TSA screening, those and other investments will fall far short of the long-term needs of our guests and partners. So today's presentation will offer a high-level overview of our most recent master plan effort and the preferred concept for terminal improvements. We'll then step into the top considerations, leading to a bold departure from that plan to the exciting one we revealed last Tuesday. We'll then speak to what work has occurred, is now underway, and lies ahead in the numerous steps to come. It's all in pursuit of creating a long-needed new front door for our residents and visitors. Our journey is now known as Clevolution. It is the evolution of CLE. We're taking what we know as the guest experience today and elevating it in a way which I believe will make Clevelanders and Northeast Ohioans extremely proud. As Mayor Bibb stated last week, to be a world-class city, you need a world-class airport. That is not what we have today, but we certainly are striving to move very decidedly in that direction. We need to modernize, to elevate the use of technology. We need to expand in core functional areas. We must become more efficient while simultaneously becoming more user-friendly, creating a welcoming and inviting environment for all. As the busiest passenger airport in Ohio and serving 93% of air travelers in Northeast Ohio, I believe it is CLE's time. It is time for CLE to step into the spotlight. Post-COVID, some of the master plan work that began in 2019 had to be revisited, including the passenger and flight forecasts. The feedback from the collective set of signatory airline partners was that CLE had the potential to see a surge in passenger activity sooner than had been anticipated in the master plan. Further, our terminal infrastructure is aging and is being utilized by local travelers at levels never seen. Nearly 10.2 million total travelers chose CLE last year. A few priorities arose from the revisit of the original master plan concept. The speed in which we could deliver would become key. The ability to minimize operational disruption would be of great importance. Reducing steps from start to finish would save time and ultimately money. And the investment needed to be approached in a palatable way to our signatory airline partners. As I've stated many times before, CLE is an enterprise fund. This means that we generate our own revenue to cover operating costs. We do not use any City of Cleveland or other municipality general fund dollars whatsoever. Our revenues are generated through various user fees. Further, we have a fully residual model of operation. This means that through the use and lease agreement with our signatory airline partners, they cover any shortfall between annual revenues and expenses through a schedule of rates and charges. For example, if we expect to generate $150 million in revenue, but our expenses are projected to be $190 million, the airlines will collectively pay $40 million that year to make us whole, primarily through terminal rent and landing fees. This means they are partners in the truest sense, and they will ultimately cover the costs associated with major capital projects undertaken, including our future transformation of the guest experience at CLE. Therefore, we must have their buy-in to make progress on our ambitious plans, and to date, we have. In the last 15 months, these 9 airline partners have unanimously agreed to support CLE terminal and related improvements to the tune of nearly $500 million. That is a level of funding commitment the likes of which CLE has never seen. To put it into context, the airlines have not supported this much capital investment at CLE in the previous 25 years combined. So we have reason to be optimistic. Much work remains, including seeking further airline funding approval in 2026, but we are on our way to creating a new CLE for you, for us, for all. Now let's walk you through the meat of the presentation. So Clevolution, I want to mention, is essentially the brainchild of the newest member of my senior team, Megan O'Connell, who's not with us today. She's representing us elsewhere. But she is the new Assistant Director of Marketing Communications and Guest Experience. And in our first meeting when she arrived, we talked about the campaign around the terminal program. And there was one way we were going at that time, but it had not yet been finalized. And she asked me, was it too far along to change course? And here's what she was thinking. And she was playing around with words, and the word evolution kept coming to mind. And so she puts CLE evolution together, and she comes up with Clevolution. And I felt that it was perfect, because virtually every time that I had been asked, what's the progress looking like? You know, what's going on? When are you going to have more to say? I invariably would use a version of the word evolve. And so that's exactly what it is that we are doing. We are evolving as we have been over the last 100 years, and we are evolving to prepare ourselves for the future. So our 100th anniversary is coming up, July 1, so that will be a big day, cause for celebration. But that's just the background on Clevolution and what it represents. Very excited about this branding and this campaign, and we've heard a lot of positive feedback about it thus far. So as I mentioned, these are the topics for today's agenda. And we do have Director Tyson Mitchell from the Office of OEO. He is here with us today. We've been partnering around a component of our plans for the terminal program. And also Scott Carr, who is our Assistant Director of Commercial Business and Revenue. So we will talk initially about the original master plan concept, and Dennis Kramer will walk us through the next several slides.
Thank you. Good morning again, everyone. So just in the spirit of evolution, right? So we started with our master plan back in 2019. We kind of finished it up in 2021. And the reason we want to talk about it a little bit is because it is a plan that has evolved, just like everything else Director Francis talked about. The master plan has evolved to what we're going to show you all here. Originally, it was a much longer duration. It was a pretty complex, a lot of phases, and we were looking at a program that took us out to approximately 2042. We had a forecast that had about 13.5 million passengers when we got to 2039, and it came in at a total cost of $3 billion. And so, as Director mentioned, we had to look at post-COVID, what the forecasts were doing. We needed to revisit all this to make sure we were still on the same track. And what we found was we weren't really on the same track. We needed to deliver the program quicker, try to bring the costs down, and evolve the program into what we're going to show you. So this is what the original concept at the end of all of it would have looked like. And again, just wanted to touch on this and show you all to kind of highlight how we have evolved the program from where we were a few years ago to where we are today. Again, this was very complex, very disruptive to operations, and would have been pretty painful to deliver in terms of constructability and phasing and customer experience. So in 2023, to help us evolve and help us evaluate all this, we brought on our executive program management team, the Pasley Group. And so one of the very first things that we wanted them to do was take a deep dive into the original concept, look at the forecast, look at the design day flight schedule, which the design day flight schedule is just, it looks at, on a typical day, when all the flights are coming in, when they're all going out, where we see peaks of passengers and flight operations. Again, constructability, phasing, and cost estimating. And then really getting into some internal stakeholder engagement and data gathering to make sure that we were still on the right path. That effort resulted in some recommended revisions to the plan, phasing, schedule, and budget. In addition to that effort, a lot of other things in terms of looking at an airport sustainability master plan, a community impact plan, and a sense of place study. All of these things have been kind of running concurrent with everything else we've been doing. So the city has its Cleveland Climate Action Plan. We've developed an airport sustainability master plan that aligns with the city's larger climate action plan that speaks specifically to airport operations. That is nearing finalization. It's still in draft form, but it should be finalized here very soon in the near future. As Director mentioned, we've been working closely with Director Mitchell and OEO in developing a community impact plan to make sure that delivering this program will have the greatest impact to community that it can. Something also very important that we've heard throughout the master plan, throughout the evolution, and today is that everyone wants to make sure that we have a facility that is representative of Cleveland and of Northeast Ohio. And so we embarked on a sense of place study, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later in the presentation. And then finally, once we kind of saw what the new idea concept would be, we embarked with Pasley and their subcontractor team to develop the program definition, or basis of design document is what it's called, and essentially it's approximately 15% of the design of this concept. This slide here, I mentioned the design day flight schedule. Again, just using this to highlight the fact that there is a lot of data behind what we're presenting to you all. We're not going to get in the weeds and show all the data to this group because we don't think that's necessary, but just want to highlight the fact that there is a significant amount of analysis and data that goes behind all of these decisions that have been made. The one thing to definitely highlight here is in the original master plan, the very last line there, average seats per flight. So in the original planning, we had that number at 129. The last few years, airlines have been upgauging aircraft, bringing in larger aircraft to our facility, and so each aircraft on average has more seats. And so the current analysis is showing that, the average aircraft through 2030 will have approximately 160 seats as opposed to the 129. And what that means is greater surges of passengers coming at one time, right? A lot of more people getting onto a plane, or a lot more people coming through the checkpoint at one point, because there's a lot more passengers going in and out at very specific times. Here's just another way to kind of show that design day flight schedule. And as I mentioned, these peaks, right? We need to look at during the day when we're going to have these surges of people. And that's what this graph is representative of, when people are arriving, when people are departing, and the peak times, so we can make sure we can plan the facilities accordingly and be prepared for these surges of passengers coming in and out of the facilities. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Director.
Thanks, Dennis. And so it's important that through all the analysis effort that Dennis spoke to in those last couple of slides, that informs on space requirements, what you need to properly accommodate a level of passenger activity and overall flow throughout the facility. And so as we mentioned earlier, some of the driving forces behind our shift, if you will, or deviation of the master plan from the terminal recommendations or preferred alternative was around speed to market, and also minimizing the disruption to the everyday operation. So our phase one concept is essentially what we introduced last week. It is landside focused, because that is where we're experiencing the greatest amount of pain, if you will, most consistently. We're well aware that the other part of the house also needs attention. That would be the air side. So that's the concourses, the boarding gates. That will be a part of our improvements in time. We have had extensive conversations with our airline partners. We've been meeting with them monthly, if not more frequently than that, pretty much since I arrived. So that's going back 2 years now. And there is just a belief that the land side of the airport really needs to see the greatest extent of improvement and soonest. But the air side will receive attention as well. We just need to make determinations on exactly what that looks like. So those conversations will be had. And I would expect that once we get further along in the design effort for the landside elements, that we'll resume conversations about the air side and work our way towards making some conclusions on what those improvements will entail. So the phase one is landside only. It is the new head house. It is improvements to our roadway system. It is a new ground transportation center, a new RTA train station, a new 6,000 space parking garage, and a new surface parking lot, which we have dubbed the Gold Lot, which will be built adjacent to Concourse D. And also then with the construction of the new head house, we will need to demolish the existing parking garage, and we will, once that new head house is open and operational, we will then demolish the existing head house. So all of that work is about $1.6 billion. And we're expecting to see around 12 million passengers. Again, this is through the forecast efforts that have taken place in the last year or so, projecting about 12 million passengers by the early 2030s. The phase two, that would be additional investment and effort in improvements. That's just what we're showing now. That could extend out another 5 years or so beyond the end of the phase one concept timeline, but that could be fluid. It really depends on when we, the collective we, our airline partners and the city, make the determination that it is prudent to move forward with the airside improvements. So, walking you through the steps of the landside program. So this is how we look today. The three concourses, A to the right, B at the top, C on the left. the existing head house there in the middle of those three concourses. Our existing parking garage is just below that, connected by the pedestrian bridge. We have parking facilities off to the right, the red and the blue lots. We do have a hangar, a pair of aircraft hangars that are off to the right, and that is FlexJet. And then the fuel farm you see to the right of that. And on the left-hand side is Concourse D. And of course, the orange lot and the former Sheraton Hotel are depicted sort of at the bottom center of the
Director,
screen.
if you want,
Yes.
we can give you a mobile mic.
Of
If you want to
course.
go up there and point, up to you.
I think we might get to that. So
Okay.
if we have one of those available.
Yeah, clerk, can we get the mic ready for the director? I'm sorry, can we get the microphone, the mobile mic? Thank you.
Thank you for that suggestion. So our first step will be to build the gold lot. Again, the gold lot is adjacent to Concourse D. It's about 1,600 spaces. It will be a surface parking facility. We expect to have that open in 2026. And immediately thereafter, we will roll into closure of the existing orange lot. So I'll go
She's
up
got the
now.
mic for you.
Okay.
Yeah, and just as we're, it's for the room, but also for the TV, folks watch on TV, so they can hear you.
All right, thank you. So here you see the area of the gold lot here, 1,600 spaces. It will have all of the improvements that are necessary for our users, our guests to be able to park there. And this is really in support of the closure of the orange lot, which is located here. The old Sheraton was here. That will become a construction laydown area, sort of a convenient space that we can put equipment, materials that will be used for the upcoming projects within the Landside program. On the site of the current orange lot is where we will build the 6,000 space parking garage. And there will be, you see here, these dashed lines. That is depicting, I forgot from last time.
Sensitive, yeah.
It's touchscreen. So you'll see here, this is the realigned RTA tunnel becoming the new station here. There will be a node here that will be a vertical transportation. One thing I did not mention last week is that we will have a tunnel, just like we have today. There's a tunnel to get from the, surface, then to tunnel to come down through the Stephanie Tubbs Jones Gallery, through and past the RTA station entry, and then up the escalators or elevators into the existing head house. So we will have a tunnel from the new RTA station, which effectively also would give customers access to the garage. So that will be joining up with the existing tunnel to get you into the existing head house. So that is the plan. But this garage, we would expect to begin construction by the end of next year, open that sometime in the early part of 2029. There'll be a new ground transportation center built here, and that is for the ultimate move or shift to the east from the existing head house to the new head house, which will sit on top of the existing parking garage. So this is showing now in green. So the parking garage is live. We're now in red. We're going to demolish the existing smart garage, and we would also demolish the existing pedestrian bridge that connects the parking garage to the head house. We also intend there will be two options for the gold lot to access it, to access the head house. There will be a walkway that you can sort of see here, and we'll also have a shuttle service. So there will be options there, and our guests can make the choice that is best for them at the time. So once we've demolished the existing smart garage, then we would begin construction of the brand new head house on that site. And you can already see it's a large rectangle. And if you look at the existing head house, you can tell that this is much larger than the existing facility. So that's one thing that we need. In addition to being more modern, we need a lot more space for passenger flow and for capacity purposes. So the new head house is now in place, and you see that that tunnel will connect up with with the existing head house, there will also be a pedestrian bridge, as we have today, between the garage and the head house. So we will replicate in the access points between the future head house and the future garage to mimic essentially what we have in place today. We also will build pedestrian bridges that will go out to the existing concourses, Concourse C, Concourse A, and then Concourse B. We will demolish the red lot and the blue lot, the existing ground transportation center, this hangar complex here, and so that will make way for some of the roadway improvements. We may also end up eventually putting a parking lot there for those who are picking up individuals on arriving flights. So that's something that we're looking into. It will be better placed than the current one, which is sort of down in this area. So that's another improvement that we're looking into. So this shows the head house is now in green, so it is open and operational. These pedestrian bridges are also operational, and we would then move forward with the demolition of the existing head house, also the demolition of the walkway from the gold lot to the existing head house, because you would now have much closer, more direct access to the new head house from that surface parking facility. I did want to point out we're reflecting a new rental car facility on this site on the north side. That is what we're looking at right now. It has not been finalized in terms of that being exactly where it is going, but it is an ongoing conversation that we're having with our rental car partners, and I expect that we'll have more information on that in the upcoming year. And so this just shows we would then plan to build a new sterile corridor from the existing Concourse A to connect up with the new head house. And that is because we will build a new federal inspection service facility. That's for international arrivals. Anyone that's arrived on an international flight over the last couple or 3 decades knows what that experience is like. You arrive off of your aircraft, you descend down to a ramp level facility under Concourse A. You then clear immigration, customs, you claim your bags. Then you have to clear TSA screening again and walk through Concourse A, eventually come down the ramp and make your exit in the center of the terminal, either to the ticketing level or down the escalator to the baggage claim level. Not at all efficient. That's not the type of experience that we want our guests to have. But this is a sign of the times when that facility was constructed. It was a different era from where we are today. We know we need to make an improvement there. There is an option for shuttling right now, but one of the challenges with that is the extreme cost of that shuttle and the relative low frequency of international flights. So the two don't balance out very well. So at this point, we intend to continue the existing practice, which is to go back through TSA screening, come through Concourse A. But the plan would be, as part of building the new head house, we would shift our international gates over to the east side of Concourse A. There would be a sterile corridor that passengers would walk through to access the new head house, and they would flow directly into the new international arrivals facility. When they then exit that facility, they are in the baggage claim area, and the curbside is just a few steps away. So much more efficient, much better overall experience for our arriving international guests.
And
Yes,
Director,
sir.
I'll note that in conversations, the folks from Border Protection Control are very excited about this. They've
Absolutely.
noted that they're excited about these plans.
Absolutely. We've been working very closely in partnership with both Customs and Border Protection as well as TSA, because this new head house will have a consolidated security checkpoint. We now have 3. and it's very inefficient, and none of them are properly spaced. There's not enough floor space, there are not enough lanes, and there are too many of them. So we're looking to solve for all of that in this new head house with a consolidated checkpoint for all passengers to flow through to get to the gates. And so it will remove some of the confusion that I think may set in today, and will, again, be a much improved experience over what is currently in place. So this is showing that corridor is now completed, that sterile corridor for international arrivals. And now you have everything in green. Again, it's showing the CONRAC there in green as if that would come online by 2032. That is what we're anticipating. I mean, we would want to advance on that facility to have it debut in time for the new head house to open. But again, separate effort entirely. That is not going to be funded through the airlines. That will be a conversation that will continue to be had with our rental car partners. And now I'll turn it over to Dennis, who will talk about the Sense of Place effort with our local partner, Robert P. Madison.
Thank you, Director. Assistant Director?
Yeah, thanks again. So as I mentioned earlier in the first part, we wanted to make sure that everything we were doing was representative of City of Cleveland, Northeast Ohio, and its people and the community. So part of the Pasley Corrigan team is a local architecture firm, Robert P. Madison International, and so they were tasked with this effort to do a sense of place study. So I'm just going to give a quick overview of that. Again, this a lot of data driven, a lot of pieces and parts to this, but again, we'll just give you a high-level overview. We commissioned a survey. It was a pretty public thing. I think a lot of the local news agencies picked it up. We had it on our website. We had it anywhere we could. We tried to push it out in lots of different ways to make sure that we were getting a robust participation from different parts of the city and all the different demographics that we could possibly touch. This slide kind of shows age, and we want to make sure we're hitting all, age demographics and everything we could. And so this kind of highlights the responses we got. There were just under 2,300 surveys taken, which was a very good response, and we feel that it resulted in some very good representative data that we can use. There was also 14 focus groups where we brought in different organizations from around the city and the region to get a little bit more concentrated conversation on sense of place and what we want to, what the region and what the people and what the community want to see in these facilities. This data that was collected will speak to somewhat of the architecture of the facility, but a lot more it'll speak to kind of the finishes and the feel that we're going to create inside the facilities themselves. And so one of the questions that was part of the survey was pick 3 ways you would complete the sentence, Cleveland is. And the top, you can see the breakdown of the responses, but the number 1 response was iconic. The second response was evolving, again, fitting very well with our branding here, Clevolution, evolving. And then third was a forest city. A lot of other highly scoring concepts there, but this was a way that Robert P. Madison took images that represented these types of things and created these kind of storyboards of these words. And then people in the survey, you could go in and you can kind of click and see the image and see and kind of rank them how you felt that was representative of Cleveland. So final summary, the sense of place is a modern convergence of industrial heritage, nature, and the arts with diversity of its community and rich culture at its core. That's kind of the summary statement, if you will, that Robert P. Madison came up with based on all the data and all the survey information that was collected. And then the design concept mood board, they wanted to take that and kind of turn it into what does that mean for colors and finishes and feels of a facility. And that's what's represented here on the screen and how the different colors and things that were reflective of the sense of place data that was collected. And I will turn it back over to Director Harold. Thanks.
Thank you. So we will now share with you the visuals as part of this landside-focused program of improvements at CLE. And this is just a disclaimer, and it's simply to say that there is the possibility and I would say expectation that these visuals, they will be enhanced, they will be refined. In other words, they will get even better from where they are today. We don't expect we're going to have a deviation, if you will, from the overall design aesthetics, but we expect that they will become even stronger once the design effort resumes, which we expect to happen towards the end of this year and going into next.
So, Director,
Yes,
you
sir.
think they will clivolve?
They could evolve. Okay, there you go. I love it. Thank you. So yes, I mean they will continue to evolve or clevolve as it is. So
And I appreciate the director laughing at my joke.
Yeah.
Also, thank you, sir.
okay, so I think I'll get up again and
Great.
walk through the visuals. So this depicts the new head house in place of the existing smart garage. So essentially the existing head house is behind this new building, and I did it again. This new head house will sit on top of the existing smart garage. You see the 2-level roadway systems, departures above, arrivals below, the same as today. The new ground transportation center is depicted here in the foreground. The new 6,000 space parking garage is here. The pedestrian bridge that will connect the garage with the new head house. And again, as I mentioned, there will also be a tunnel option for customers to travel back and forth between those two facilities. So this is a stark contrast to the facility that we have today. The existing head house, the first portions of which opened in the mid-1950s. So this is going to be a design that is very open, very airy, very spacious. There will be a lot of natural light. As you can see, there's glazing from floor to ceiling, and that really is surrounding the entire facility on the departures level. You will notice some elements in the design of the roof, somewhat undulating, and that is to reflect water. And that really is to give a nod to our geographic location on the shores of Lake Erie. And you can even take there are 7 of those skylight features, if you will, that will be above the ticket lobby that also mimic waves. So really that is something that is coming through, I think, rather strongly. Also, there will be some instances of exposed steel, sort of a nod to the industrial history or heritage of the area as well. But I think that this is a very classy and classic design, and it is one that I think will represent Cleveland incredibly well once we are able to realize it and have our guests enjoying it. Any questions on this slide? Okay. So this is just a different angle, as if you are arriving at the airport on the departures level. You see now coming into view the arrivals level here, so the baggage claim area. So these escalators would be for those who are descending, who've just arrived on flights. They're descending down into the lower level or the arrivals level from the sterile side of the airport. But again, you have glazing windows from floor to ceiling in this structure. So it will be a beautiful representation of light and be filled with it. Also, again, you have on the left-hand side the 6,000 space parking garage and how that will interact with the new head house, and again, seeing the pedestrian bridge in between the two. So this is another angle. This is as if you are looking across from the garage, from the north edge of the 6,000 space garage, and you can better see that design aesthetic with the mimic of the water, of the waves, again, reminiscent of Lake Erie. A lot of use of greenery. Obviously, that can change, but we absolutely intend to bring as much of that, because Forest City was one of those top sort of examples of what people believe Cleveland to be. So that is going to be something that we will incorporate into the future design.
And Director, if I can
Yes,
pause on
of
that just for
course.
a moment on the previous slide. So I really appreciate the fact around the greenery. Sometimes renderings of development, whatever, show greenery and they never end up with it. So
Right.
I appreciate the emphasis. Am I also seeing, and I don't think I'm breaking news here, is that solar? Can you speak to, I'm not going to hold you to it, but is there a reason that the roof design may be compatible or what we're showing there?
Yeah,
Absolutely. So Dennis.
I can chime in on that. Yeah, we do intend to put solar on those wave-type areas, and it is positioned in a way to maximize, sun capture, if you will, and that all kind of ties into the, as I mentioned before, the sustainability management plan and aspects of the program as well.
And I do very much see the waves in the design, which is kind of cool. So, go ahead.
Absolutely. Okay, so this is an image from inside on the departures level of the facility. And again, what you'll see, and I should point out, this is essentially the center of the departures level on the land side. So there's as much behind this view as there is ahead. So you would have ticket counters down there, and you'd also have ticket counters back here in this direction. You can see that because the arrivals level is covered by the departures level, there is an sort of a very direct design element to have an open space that will go down to the arrivals level to bring more natural light into that level of the facility. This is the vertical transportation area that would take you to the pedestrian bridge. Also want to point out that at some point, we would expect to expand that parking garage, and that would be sometime in the next decade. But at that time, we would also expect to add a second pedestrian bridge that would be accessed more from that new section of the garage. But initially, there will be the single pedestrian bridge, and again, the tunnel that I mentioned earlier. But this is how you would access that, and then there are escalators, as you can see right here, that would take you down to the arrivals level or bring you up from the arrivals level to the departures level. In the center of the departures level is the consolidated TSA screening checkpoint. So this will be a much larger facility in terms. Speaking of large facility, I should mention the existing head house is about 380,000 square feet. So the new head house is going to be more than twice the size of the existing facility, just to give you a sense of scale and what we're going for here. And that also will give us room to grow into, if you will. We're not looking to build a facility for yesterday or today. We're really looking forward and wanting to ensure that what we do construct will be able to serve us for decades to come. And then this last image is on the sterile side of the departures level. So your screening checkpoint is here, and you have just cleared screening, and now you're in the center of the sterile side, having passed through TSA. There will be a pedestrian bridge on your left or on your right to reach the concourses. We do see a boulevard, if you will, of concessions, so retail, food and beverage, other types of services and amenities. Also, there would be an abundance of light through windows, floor to ceiling again, and then we're also depicting a skylight feature that would be in the center of that space as well. And again, you'll see some elements of greenery, some vegetation live, if you will. So wanting to bring that the outside inside. Yes, sir.
I just want to comment, I love that. Every time I go to an airport and there's trees in it, I'm like, this is so cool. So as much, of those trees, live greenery, I think really calms the space. So I love that we're including those in there.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah,
of course.
Councilwoman, go ahead.
This is, I am so sorry, this is the most basic question, but I'm just getting familiar with it. Is this a renovation of the existing building, or is this a fully new structure in addition to?
Complete new, not
Okay,
in
thank
addition
you.
to replacement of.
Replacement of?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So this will be built directly in front of the existing head house.
Got it.
On top of or in place of the existing garage. So, and we're going to show you, there's an animation that we're going to show you in a couple of minutes so you can see all the moving parts and sort of a timeline of when they happen. But yes, brand new facility, much larger, higher capacity, will allow for better flow through it and certainly provide a greatly elevated experience for all of us. And when I say our guests, I don't just mean travelers, but I also mean all the employees that work in the airport.
Yeah.
I mean, frankly, we see it far more often than any passenger ever could. So we want everyone that is within the facility to enjoy it, to appreciate it, to be proud of it. And also, I did want to point out, this is an idea, but if anyone recalls the tunnel to Concourse D, there is some art that's down in that tunnel. And the art is these simulations, if you will, of paper airplanes, something I used to build when I was a kid. You know, goes way back for me and airplanes. So these are in place today in the tunnel going to Concourse D, and no one ever sees them anymore. It's been over 10 years since that has been publicly or accessible if you were traveling and arriving into or departing from the D gates. So we're looking to bring those back to life, if you will, and utilize them in the new head house, which I think is very, very fitting and exciting to make use of those once again and have people be able to view those and enjoy them. Yes, Dennis?
And I can add to that too a little bit in terms of the art. I mean, art will be a very important part of the program as well in terms of creating that sense of place. And we already do have a good amount of art in the facility, and the intent is to repurpose all of the different pieces of art that we have today, in addition to adding some additional. So what Director was speaking to there was one of those repurposings, but art will be an important part of the program in creating the facility that we want for the future.
And on that point, Director, if I may, I'm curious, you know, obviously Cleveland's got a really rich art scene. Are we able to partner with MoCA or the Cleveland Museum of Natural History or Cleveland Museum of Art, you know, because you're coming into the airport, it's the airport, but you're coming into the city, right?
Right.
And so kind of a front door reflection of the city itself.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that plan is still coming together, but I think we want to make use of as many of the local partners as possible to be a part of influencing what the art components of the program ultimately look like. So, yes. Dennis, how about you speak to this slide?
Sure. Just real quick on this, you know, this is kind of outlines the near term, the shorter term schedule that we're looking at that we're jumping into right now, right? So some of these items have already been kind of checked off the list, and we've already moved past them. You can see we have an industry day planned coming up. We'll talk to that. We have a slide on that in a little bit more in the future. But then we're really jumping into a handful of procurements and other things to really kick this thing off, starting in June and July and moving forward with this thing very fast. So this just kind of outlines that if anybody's interested in timeline here for the short term and the near future.
And this is simply to communicate the fact that we have a plan. And it is a plan that we are moving through. We are checking those boxes. The first few of those, we have hit the dates that you will see. And we have several more that are coming up that we are fully intending to hit dead on the nose or be very, very close to. This is of course, an important thing because everything that happens has other things that are going to happen after. And so they are all related, they're all important, and we need to do our best to keep a schedule so that we can deliver on these landside elements by 2032. So that was what this slide was meant to demonstrate. And I believe the next is going to be the timeline. So I just spoke to all of the elements of the landside projects within the Terminal Modernization Development Program. And so this is just showing you, depicting on the timeline of when things will happen. So again, the gold lot is going to be the first thing to advance through design and construction. That will start in the latter part of this year, opening up in the mid to latter part of next year. We'll then roll right into or already be in the design effort for the parking garage. We expect that to begin construction by the end of next year. And that would be starting with the tunneling for the new RTA station, and that's also depicted there. Then the new Crown Transportation Center would get underway beyond that. And then lastly, once we have the new garage operational, we will close and demolish the existing smart garage and construct the new terminal head house in its place. And as you're seeing here, we are aiming to have all those elements completed with the head house being last by 2032.
Yeah, just, I'll add real quick too, and this really is just, the main part of this slide is to show kind of the critical path of the whole program, right? These are the larger elements that need to happen and will happen to maintain that critical path of getting to this landside program. There's other ancillary projects and things that'll be happening that are also going on during this timeline, but these are just really here to highlight the kind of the critical path of the program, if you will.
Okay, and with that, here is the animation, which should start in just a moment. So this will show you the sequence of all the elements of the landside program. So that represents about 6 to 7 years of work, and hopefully by watching that animation, you understand why certain things need to happen before others, and why we have to go in a certain order. If we had our way, we'd do it all at once, but clearly that's not possible. We don't have the luxury of having a lot of extra land that's readily available for development next to our existing campus or on the other side of the airport. So we are going to be improving our house, if you will, in place. And but we do have a plan that's executable. We're excited about it. We're looking forward to moving ahead. We'll have legislation coming your way, several pieces coming your way, I believe, in June at the Committee of the Whole, and then we will just keep this rolling forward. But we did want to talk a bit about the Industry Day, and I'll let Dennis elaborate on that.
Sure, yeah. The next big thing that's going to be happening in terms of the program will be an Industry Day. It's going to be held on June 3rd, and this is where we're inviting in, anybody who, all the large businesses, small businesses, local businesses, national business, anybody interested in the program, to take we're going to take a deeper dive into these different packages and the different projects that are coming forward, so everybody can have a greater understanding of, the actual work and the packages and the projects that we're going to be doing. So we have sent out invitations. If you're a company that's interested in being involved in this program, please contact us, and we can get get you the invitation and get you signed up to be a participant for the Industry Day.
Thank you. Does that conclude the?
So we just have a bit more information. That is just so everyone knows the webpage that we've created specifically for the campaign around the terminal program, and that is itsaclevolution.com. There's the yes, you got it. So that and yeah, that brings our presentation for today to an end. But we're extremely I would say invigorated by this.
Yeah.
It's been a long time coming. I think there are a lot of people who wonder why didn't it happen sooner or it couldn't happen soon enough. And I don't disagree with those sentiments, but the reality is that it didn't happen sooner, right? I've been here for just under 2 years, and I think we've accomplished a tremendous amount in that amount of time, and we're going to do even more in the balance of this decade. And that's one of the things that I'm most excited about is bringing great improvements to the community. This is a tremendous economic asset. We want to make the most of it and ensure that it is able to provide an even greater impact to the community economically, and that's what we're striving to do.
Thank you, Director. Well, let me start out by thanking you and your team and the Pasley Group as well for all the really good hard work on this. Director Mitchell as well, for I know you're a big part of this as well. So I want to thank everyone for all the hard work on this and dedication. And, you know, this is kind of where we think about the legislation came through for the Pasley Group, and it's like, you know,
Thank you.
sometimes you don't always see the end. Here's like,
Right.
you know, what this is doing. So really appreciative of all the hard work that's gone into this and the deep dive into Cleveland. And, you know, I really appreciate how we are embracing nature in this facility. I know the whole industrial pass thing in Cleveland, but I'm very fortunate that this is not like just all metal steel beams that sometimes we like to fantasize and mimic the steel mill and what we do. And I'm like, you know, that's great, but let's lean more into the nature side of Cleveland. And I think we've really accomplished that in this. So I'm really excited about that. Director, I'll also say that, you know, I think the new approach is so much better. I mean, if you think about, you know, it's like adding an addition onto your home versus renovating space by space over 25 years. That would drive you mad if you had to do that. So I think this approach of thinking more strategically, less disruption, how do we better connect the facilities to create a modern airport is the right way to go. So I'm really happy to see where this landed. And it goes to show that, you know, things evolve and you have hard conversations, and it's clear that your team is listening to that feedback. And I think we're in a much better place than that original plan, I don't know how many years ago. So this is really, really exciting. I also, you know, want to note, having just gone through Chicago's airport, and when I landed, my app said, you have a 92-minute walk to your next gate. And I was like, oof. So I appreciate Cleveland's airport today. I might be in the minority on that, but I do, because it's easy to get through. It's concise. It's, you know, not a monster of a facility to get through, and I appreciate that, honestly. I don't need a Gucci store when I fly places. Some people do, but anyways, beyond that, I think we're within that light. We're continuing that experience with this, not only enhancing the experience, but making sure that it's efficient to get through and that it's intuitive and it makes sense.
Absolutely.
So I'm really excited to see this come online. And believe it or not, 2032 is not that far away.
It really isn't.
It's really not. I mean, it might sound far away, but we will be there before we know it.
Can I just
So-
say
yeah,
one
please,
thing?
Director.
When I was growing up, I think, and I still maybe am a little bit, I was pretty impatient. I was always, it's like, hurry up. I wanted something to get here already. My granny would always tell me, one day you're going to wish that time would slow down. And I thought to myself, you know what you're talking about. You know, that's nonsense, right? Absolutely true today.
Yeah.
That in a lot of ways, I wish that time would slow down. In this reference and instance, I wish it would speed up so that we could get to realize those goals that we're striving for sooner. But what I can say is that we're committed and dedicated to seeing this through, and we will.
Yeah, and I think too the plan to, if sure there will be dust, there will be
Absolutely.
certain things, but having the current head house essentially function while the construction is going on seems that it will really limit disruption. Again, not saying there won't be detours, dust, all that kind of stuff that you'll expect in a large construction project,
Right.
but it seems like by going this route, we're going to be limiting the disruption to everyday passengers, because one of the things that, Director, you've said all the time is you've got to run an airport.
Right.
Like, you got to run the day-to-day while this project is underway. So how important it is to continue the experience of passengers every single day, you know, over 10 million of them, while you're building this new facility. So really appreciate this update. It seems like we're really heading in the right direction in a responsible and innovative manner. And I really look forward to continuing the conversation about the details, right? How do we really lean in on nature and our art and our food scene? And, you know, like when you land in Cleveland, it should be like, boom, you know you're in Cleveland, right? With all of the amazing amenities we have as a city to offer. So appreciate this hard work. With that, I'm going to open up to the panel. Councilman Bishop.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Everything looks beautiful. It reminds me, I just came through New Orleans Airport, and when I walked in, I looked around, there was so much glass and so much open space. Everything looks beautiful. If Cleveland had an airport like that, I'm sure we would all be proud. Clevelanders, from whether you're in the Cleveland suburban areas, Northeast Ohio, would be proud. But let me say this, let me ask you this, Director. If I'm sitting at home, or if I'm watching this on TV, and I see these new plans come across, and how would this affect Clevelanders as far as in their pocketbooks? How are we going to pay for this? How are the funding sources going to come together? And what is it going to mean to average Clevelanders, the financial burden?
Certainly. Thank you for asking that question, Councilman. So we are what is called an enterprise fund. And so that means that the revenues that are generated on the airport, they stay on the airport to support our operation. And we have an agreement in place with our signatory airline partners. There are currently 9 of them, which essentially states that if there is a shortfall, a gap between how much revenue we generate and how much it costs in a year to operate the airport, they will cover that gap. They will make us whole by paying rates and charges. There's a schedule of rates and charges, and that is how they close that window, if you will, between revenues and expenses. For all of these improvements, we will be out in the market for bonds. And the airlines are ultimately the backstop to those bonds, because they will be covering the debt through that schedule of rates and charges. And so that's why I mentioned early on that it was very important and will continue to be very important that we approach this program in a way that is palatable for the airlines, because while we could present a $3 billion plan to the airlines, I don't believe that is something that could be supported all at once by the carriers. So we're coming to them in a way that I believe is more reasonable, but also does get us to a very meaningful place in terms of improvements, and that also positively impacts their respective operations. From the standpoint of how this could impact the average Clevelander, if you will, we will be continuing to work on refining a plan around community impact. And what that really is just how can we engage the community, ensure that we offer opportunities for the community to be a part of this effort. Really, it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing that we're going to be undertaking at Hopkins. And so whether that is through local businesses or individuals who would have an opportunity or be interested in physically working on elements of the program, we're going to ensure that we have the most robust program possible to involve Clevelanders and Northeast Ohioans. I think that's something that we must do. And so that's something that we will certainly be looking to do, and we'll talk about more as we go forward. And then also, with an improved airport, we have a better look, a better feel, and that could have an impact on bringing business into the area, whether it's meetings and conventions, whether it's a corporation that decides that they are going to expand their business here. Through the new facilities, we are always actively pursuing new air service. And so the combination of the improvements that we're striving for can impact us positively on numerous levels that would then ripple throughout the community and allow more people to enjoy the results of our efforts.
Okay. And through the chair, you mentioned, so we're going to sell bonds, and it's going to be backed by the airlines. The airlines are going to back us up on the bonds. What about RTA's commitment? I know you talked about having a new RTA station
Correct.
there. What role will RTA and that organization play in this revitalization, Clevolution? Okay.
Thank you, sir. Through the chair. So we've been working very closely with RTA around the notion of creating a new RTA station for Hopkins, and they've been very supportive. It's been a collaborative effort. We are going to be working with them to identify potential grant funding sources to defray some of the costs for the RTA station. However, the airlines have approved the total amount that is expected to cover the garage itself, the new RTA station, the new ground transportation center. So, but we will be working going forward on identifying grant funding opportunities, not only for the RTA portion, but frankly for the overall program. But those costs are built into the $301 million that the airlines approved on May 1st of this year.
Okay. And then lastly, through the chair, the construction and the redoing of all of the roadways, who's our stakeholders in that, in the funding of all of those infrastructure projects?
So that will all be rolled into the $1.6 billion total that we spoke to, that the landside elements are anticipated to cost. So the airlines have approved nearly $500 million thus far. There will be some roadway work associated with the garage and the ground transportation center. There will be even more work that will occur as the new head house is constructed. But those costs for roadway improvements that are on airport will be rolled into the overall construction costs of the program. And so that will be part of what the airlines would ultimately back in the capital investment.
Okay, so I guess one more, just to follow up on that question, the roadways that approach the airport, I'm assuming that they would have to be looked at and redone also. So who's going to be our partner in that situation?
So those are different jurisdictions. Those are outside of the airport. Some of the roadways are the City of Brook Park and other entities. So there have been some conversations about, through traffic study analyses that are happening for the potential development across from the airport. And so one of the, and really the primary point for the airport is to ensure that roadway improvements are very high on the list of actionable items because we expect to grow our business in the coming years. That is going to lead to an increase in vehicle traffic, so more roads, more cars on the roads. And so we would naturally be looking to partner on ways that we could improve the roadways that are just outside our front door, but even more so because of the potential for a high-level, large-scale development happening across 237 from us. So that's going to continue to be very high on our list as well.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you,
Great
Councilman.
questions. Councilwoman Santana.
Use this one. It was uncomfortable. Thank you. you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Director, and thank you to your staff. Great presentation. I would tell you, I want to print some of these slides out and put them on my wall because they're so vibrant and colorful. I was looking at the survey response by age. I'm thinking to myself, how are 25-year-olds to the age of 35 traveling? Why is the percentage higher? What type of jobs do you have? So, but nonetheless, I love the name, Clevolution. I think what comes to my head is like Cle Imagine, you know what I mean, like imagining. But that's very cool, Scott. So, but I want to talk about the workforce. I see that Director Mitchell's here. I don't know if we touched much on it. I know that every time I see development, I see jobs,
Of course.
jobs, right?
Yes.
But one of my frustration just sitting at this table is that oftentimes we wait so late, right, to give the opportunities to residents and include them in the pipeline and the planning and the training. So I guess through the chair to Director Mitchell, what is the plan for workforce? When could council step in, or what could we do to help and make sure that our residents have these opportunities?
All right, thank you. Thank you for the question. Through the chair to the council person, one of the things we are doing is, as said in the presentation, working on the airport community impact plan. We truly, this is a generational project, once in a lifetime. So we're only going to get one shot at this, in my opinion. So we are focused in three buckets, primarily focusing on Cleveland local businesses, Cleveland workers, and the Cleveland community in general. One of the things we're also looking to do is engage CMSD. There's a lot of different moving parts here, but I'll tell you, the pipeline is very important here. We're looking to partner with the general contractor, the unions, whoever's going to be a part of this in creating a true pipeline for workers. The pride that you will get as a Cleveland resident working on something that's yours. So we're really focused on how we do that. Imagine I'm a Cleveland resident, I'm going to be working on the airport. That's a civic pride that's going to be there. So we're going to be really looking forward to having robust numbers in City of Cleveland residents on this project. It must happen, and it's going to happen.
Thank you, Director. And so, the challenge is that we know that contractors don't have the capital, right? And often have to be hired with the bigger contractors. So is that something that we're working through? I've attended many, and the reason I bring this up, I attended many job fairs where there's smaller contractors, maybe painters, right? Flooring, and they don't have that capital. They're not in these huge, large construction businesses. And so it's like the big shark, always gets these final opportunities. So are we being innovative? Are we thinking through this and giving our residents the opportunity for these jobs? Because this is 6 years. So
Yes,
you're
it is.
employed for 6 years, doing this work. So I just don't want to miss the mark. And it's something that keeps me up at night as I sit as the chair of workforce and ensuring that our residents are part of the development.
Right. And through the chair, to the council person, we would really look forward to partnering with City Council and in this plan and looking at the plan and seeing what you can add in the plan as we further develop it. Right now, we're in the early stages, so we have a lot of opportunity to partner. Yeah. Definitely.
Can I add a bit there too? Thanks. So one other thing that we're looking at, we've done a lot of due diligence on lessons learned from other terminal programs across the country, and some other approaches that other programs have taken is certain things about, to your point about cash flow and capital and things of that nature, paying subs and paying contractors in a more timely manner than we've historically done, owner-controlled insurance program potentially, where the burden of having a $5 million or a $10 million insurance policy wouldn't be on the contractor or the subcontractor themselves, but we would take that on as the owner for the whole program. Subcontractor default insurance, these different approaches that lessens the burden on those smaller companies, all different things that we're considering to be part of the community impact plan to give the smaller companies more opportunities.
Oh, thank you. It's great to hear that because those are the barriers that our subcontractors
Absolutely.
face on a daily basis. So those are my questions. Thank you. It looks beautiful. I'm looking forward to it. 7 years is pretty quick. I will be in my 50s and hopefully at an age where I'm traveling more. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilperson.
Absolutely, thank you. Any additional questions for the panel? All right, hearing none. Director, again, thank you so much for this presentation.
Thank you
To
all.
your team and all the hard work here. We appreciate it. So,
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, this Transportation and Mobility Committee is adjourned.
request.